Hello YouTube friends and welcome to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Deidre from our Upcycled life. I do lots of thrifting, upcycling, repurposing, and DIY content. And I love new crafting friends. So make sure you like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications so you don't miss any great DIY content. I am in my shed, which means it's getting warmer and spring is on its way. I don't have any heat in here, so it's really difficult in the winter to do any projects out here without freezing your fingers and your toes. So today's a gorgeous day. The snow's melting really quickly, and I am going to do a wrap up today out here with all the stuff that I've made the last little bit and show you. Hopefully you'll find something that you'll get inspired by and you can create it yourself. I have all kinds of stuff, lots of different techniques, and I'm excited to put it all together. So lots of work, let's get started. First up is this frying pan. Pulled it out of the dump. I knew I could make it into something perfect for the garden. I got my Cricut out. I made a permanent vinyl quote for the inside of it, and it's going to stick right into my garden in the spring as decor. Always find colanders at the thrift store, and I always grab them because they make beautiful accent bowls. This is a candlestick holder, and then I just E6000 glue the colander on top. It can be filled with fruit, vegetables, flowers. It is so easy. I did a video on upcycling packing paper. I put a whole bunch of projects together. It was a really fun video and I had some great ideas. A few things that I made was I made a little booklet for notes and stuff, all with packing paper. This is just a mason jar covered in some packing paper. I added one of my homemade paper tags. If you didn't see that video on how to make homemade paper really easy, that's a great one to check out. And you can put your flowers in there or faux flowers. Makes a great little gift also. Or how about wrapping up a bottle of wine and taking it to a dinner party? You're using up your packing paper and it looks beautiful. I did a video on how to print on fabric. There's so many things that you can do with this technique, and it was really easy. I had this embroidery hoop in my stash for forever. I printed on a piece of fabric, put it in the middle, and it made a cute little wall hanging. Have you ever tried the mirror effect spray paint? I've been using it quite a bit lately. I love the effect that it gives. It kind of makes glass turn into an antique looking mirror. This was just a picture frame that I had. I did some distressing on the frame, painted the glass with that spray paint, and it's gorgeous. I also did another project with an antique frame, and I did some napkin decoupage in the middle, and I love the way that it turned out too. If you haven't used this mirror effect spray paint, I'll put the link down below in the description. Grab some because it's fantastic. These are some upcycles that I did from my last thrift store shopping trip, and I found this, just a wooden board with some legs on it, turned it into a beautiful centerpiece for a table. You can put a flower on it, salt and pepper, and I did some striping on it, and I love the way that it turned out. This one I made sure I sealed with some engine enamel, because if it's going to be in the kitchen and you're going to have to wipe it down a lot, you need to have a surface that's really durable, and so that's what I put on for a top coat for that. Graters, we see these all the time in the thrift store. I put this mounted on a piece of wood that I also found had some legs on it at the thrift store. You can put some flowers on the top. I hang a tea towel from the bottom. Makes a gorgeous piece for your kitchen. And a cutting board and a little wooden box. I glued the two together. I put a graphic on the front using my Mod Podge reverse graphic transfer method. Did some crackle painting techniques, and it turned out gorgeous. This crackle technique, I used hairspray. Got a full tutorial on that. If you've missed that one, that's a must watch. You can crackle paint with hairspray and it creates an amazing texture in your paint, and it's so easy to do, and it's not as messy as using the Elmer's glue technique. So watch that if you haven't seen it. I did a tutorial on how to age paper really quickly with instant coffee, and the paper turns out really vintage and antique and is really great to use on all of your DIY projects. This is what I did with one of them. I aged the paper and then decoupaged it on one of my glass bottles that I picked up at the thrift store. The glass bottle I tinted using food coloring and Elmer's glue, and I have a full tutorial on how to tint glass too. That one's fantastic for making these amber looking bottles, and they look great in the kitchen or on a cabinet. Really easy to put together. I love doing vintage jewelry boxes. Always see them at the thrift store. I always pick them up. I always have 2 or 3 on the side for when I have time, because they're a lot of work and it takes a lot of patience, but it's so worth it after you finish them. Always like to do a really rustic paint job on them with some chalk paint. And I've added a quote on the top of this using my Mod Podge reverse graphic transfer method. And I like to take all of the insides out of them, all that velvet. It's always kind of yucky and stained. I pull it all out, and then I line the drawers with scrapbooking paper with Mod Podge, decoupage them in, and seal everything up. These make fantastic gifts, or I have a hard time getting rid of them. Keep them for yourself. They're perfect for storage. I never throw out tin can lids. Look at this wind chime. And it makes the most awesome noise when the wind comes through. I painted it with some chalk paint, added a graphic on the front using my Mod Podge reverse graphic. All of these are lids that I've painted. I've sealed this really well with a engine enamel because it's going to be outside hanging, and you want it to stand up in the elements. But I love the whimsical colors of all of this. And this was all free right out of my recycling bin. I have a full tutorial of a whole bunch of projects that I did with lids off of glass jars and cans. Check that out if you haven't seen it, because there's some fantastic upcycling ideas there. Signs, and more signs. I hope you guys don't get tired of me always showing all of my signs. It's my favorite thing to make. Always revert back to my Mod Podge reverse graphic transfer method. Works the best for me. Looks the most authentic, I find. And I just love making them. So I always have lots of them. The first one that I did, this was a scrap piece of wood that I got out of the dump. And all this was little bits and pieces that I had laying around. And I put it all together into this beautiful sign. Some hardware. Painted around the outside with the black. This is all chalk paint. And isn't this hinge fantastic? I love the way that this turned out. A frame from the thrift store, an old horseshoe that I found in the dump, put it all together and created this beautiful sign. I did the hairspray crackle technique on the frame and layered a bunch of different colors. I think it turned out really great. Love the graphic. All the graphics that you see in any of my projects, I have them in my Etsy store. If you want to grab them, make sure you use the code SAVE50. You get 50% off all of my graphics over there. They're ready to craft with. They're already reversed if you want to do this technique, and all kinds for every season. You can check that out. I'll put the link down below in the description. But beautiful thrift store find, Upcycled. This also was a piece of wood, I think came from the dump also. And I put it together with a really aggressive crackle paint technique, full tutorial, and I really aged it and did some water spraying with some paint to achieve this effect, and then put my Mod Podge reverse graphic transfer on top. And it doesn't get much more rustic and antique looking than this. Love the way that it turned out. Scrap piece of wood from the wood pile. A fish I found at the thrift store, and this is what I created. What fisherman wouldn't love a sign like this? My last pile of signs, my coffee graphic that I love. I did a really rustic paint technique with the hairspray on this one, and you can see in the corners how chippy it made it. I love that one. And then I did an arrow with the same graphic. As you can see, you can mix and match these graphics and get a completely different looking sign just by fooling around with the graphics and putting them on different places on the wood. Also did a technique that makes wood look like tie-dye with cling wrap. And imagine all the colors that you can put together and create some really pretty signs. I thought these would be great for the summer. Full tutorial on how to achieve this painting look. A link down below in the description. I had fun with some swirl painting. This is great to do with kids, and again, it's kind of like that tie-dye cling wrap method, but it's a little bit more bold. And I did a little shelf sitter, be silly. and an arrow that says be wild, stay wild, be wild, stay wild. And I just love how all the colors all melt together. I saved my favorite for last. This is my favorite sign that I've made out of all of these. I used a hairspray crackling technique on this, and I just love the way the edges kind of turned out. And I love the quote, always find time for things that make you smile. And I left the black, I haven't painted the back yet because I wanted to show you, this was just a plain piece of pine, and I turned it into this. All these techniques that I showed you today are really simple to do. Some might just take a little bit of practice, but you don't need any fancy tools. You don't need any fancy materials. It's just basic stuff that you probably already have in your home to create fantastic DIYs. So if you see something that you like today, I'll put down in my playlist all of the videos so you can go back and you can check and learn how to do them, because that's what we're here for. We're here to learn new techniques, and I'm here to help you and guide you along and make these projects easier for you, giving you little tips and tricks along the way. So that's everything that I've been working on. I hope you enjoyed. I'd love to know down in the comments which one was your favorite. And as always, thanks so much for following along and supporting my channel. I really appreciate it. Thanks for watching. Have a great day, and we'll see you in the next video.